this is Samir. Welcome to Science Institute of Education. Today, I'm going to do one writing task too. Okay, this essay is going to be based on cause and solutions, right? In order to write it effectively, today I will be showing you some easy tricks that you can use to higher up your band score in writing task. Okay, but first we will do some vocabulary, and after that I will give you a small strategy by which you can write your causes and solutions essay effectively. Okay, now first let's look at the topic. The topic today says here, many museums and historical sites are mainly visited by tourists but not local people. Why this is the case and what can be done to attract more local people to visit these places? Right, so let's understand again. Many museums and historical sites are mainly visited by tourists but not local people. Right, so local people are not going to those museums, only the tourists are coming. Now the question is asking you why this is the case. Why is it happening that only tourists are getting interest to go to the museums but local people aren't? And suggest some solutions. Now, solutions are based to attract the localites, right? The tourists are already coming, but localites, they need to be attracted. So what can be done in order to gain their interest? Okay, so this is the topic. Now, let's do some vocabulary first of all, based on this. Now, the words and expressions that I will be choosing to write in this essay, I'll be giving you first so that we can understand those words effectively. Number one, to pale. To pale, now we are going to use as a verb here. Okay, now to pale means obviously it's fading, right? So it means that it seems to have less interest. So seems to be, like, to pale seems to be less attractive. Seems to be less attractive. This word I'll be using second because we want to gain their interest back, right? So we'll be using resurrect. It's RESURRECT, resurrect the interest. Right. So which means make people interested again. Right, that's the resurrect the interest. Number three, we'll be doing dwindling. Dwindling means declining or decreasing. Right, something that is dropping. So for gerund we use dwindle. Right, the word is dwindle, but here I'm going to use as dwindling. Right, so decreasing. Then I will be using to drum up more interest. Now, as you can see, it means to drum up, so to generate more interest. To generate more interest. Then a substantial amount of money. A substantial amount of money, a big chunk of money, a huge chunk of money, anything you can use, right? So they all means the same, which means a lot of money. Okay, so to drum up more interest, to generate more interest, a substantial amount of money, a lot of money, this will be using. Then we'll be using incorporate as verb. I'll be using, which means obviously to include. Okay, so these are some words. There are a couple of phrases as well, but I will be telling you in between while we write the essay. All right, now let's begin. All right, now let's start our essay. I'm going to present the introduction. Now here, let me give you some insight first, how to write your introduction effectively. Now, first of all, as we all know that in introduction, the first sentence, the very first sentence has to be your paraphrase the topic. Now, paraphrase a topic does not mean that you have to, use the synonym each and every word. Try to put down the entire topic into your own words. Okay, that is the mean. Now, topic does not mean your what are the causes, what are solutions. No, before that, the main topic sentence you have to paraphrase. Okay. Now, the second. Now, since in here in this particular topic we don't have an opinion asked. Okay, so as we can see the topic again, it says what are the causes and what solutions, right? So there is no specific opinion asked. So I would highly encourage you to use in a passive tone, right? Now paraphrase the topic, then obviously you have to, after giving a paraphrase, you have to give your outline sentence. Now, outline sentence means, now this carries your 0.5 band if you write the complete detail, which means you will see in here, I will be giving you some insight, okay, that it will be reflecting what my body paragraph 1 as well as body paragraph 2 is going to talk about. That means outline sentence. Similarly, when you write task 1 in academic, when you write in task 1, after paraphrasing the first of all, the very first small paragraph, the paraphrasing the topic sentence given, you write overall. So if you don't, then you must. Okay, do not just start with going to detail and then write conclusion. Please, in task 1, there is no conclusion. Okay, because there is no opinion or anything asked. Make sure do not write conclusion in writing task 1 academic. There is no opinion asked to you. Okay, if anybody is telling you, then it's wrong. There is no opinion. All right. So in over here, now I was comparing with the task 1. Now, when you write overall, right, the second paragraph overall in academic task 1, which means you're telling overall what you can see into the diagram or diagram in your pie chart or in your linear graph or anything, right? You're talking generally, like overall it can be seen or blah blah blah, this thing fluctuating between this and this year. Then you give out the details. Similarly, here in outline sentence, right, you are going to write that what your BP1 is going to be about and what BP2 is going to be about, or overall essay, what is going to say, right? Paraphrase the topic, outline sentence. So let's follow this simple strategy with this topic. Now, as we can see, the topic once again here, many museums and historical sites are mainly visited by tourists and not by local people. Let's write it down, this sentence. There is no gainsaying the fact that in terms of local people's attendance, museums and other historical places have always paled in comparison. Has always. Now, as you can see, have. Why? Because two things we're talking about: museums and historical places. That's why have, right? Always paled. So they are declining in comparison with what? In comparison with recreational centers. So in comparison with other recreational centers. Right. So there is no gainsaying the fact that in terms of local people's attendance, so in terms of local people's attendance, मतलब कि अगर जो हम local people की जो localites हैं, ठीक है, उनकी attendance की बात करें कि कितने वो लोग जाते हैं museums में, museums and other historical places have always paled in comparison, हमेशा वो decline ही हो रहे हैं अगर उसको हम compare करें with other recreational centers, ठीक है. Now, what are the reasons? The topic further is asking you what are the reasons, what are the causes of this, right? So I'm going to, this is what my outline sentence is going to be, right? So museum have always paled in comparison with other recreation centers. Now, less. So we know what is, first of all, let's discuss, okay, why is this happening? It is happening because there are very frequent, very less frequent activities are happening. Okay, now if you see any museum, older museum, you see only school trips are taking place. Why? Because they're not being charged from the school. It is mainly happening because there are no any kind of like activities are performed there, and not any, I must say, decent activities, like which is outlining any kind of traditional or like any type of let's say heritage fair. These things are not happening. So obviously the people who are living in local city, right? For example, in my city, let's say in Patiala city, there is a Sheesh Mahal, right, which is very famous. However, people don't go there anymore because, yes, even me, right, I wouldn't go there because I have seen what is inside. As long as there is not any kind of new thing happening, then that would really attract me. For example, heritage mela that takes place every year and every 4 years, that gains popularity. Like it means like a lot of people from Punjab, they come here. So these kind of things should happen from time to time in order to keep their interest of localites. Now let's write it. So outline sentence: less number of traditional activities, and admission charge. So this is also a point I just thought of, that being a localite, if I'm paying the same amount of money that is being charged from the tourists, so why would I be keep going there when I know what is in there already? Correct. So I would only go if any friend of mine has come from abroad, right? Or like, obviously it's not that every day or every week I would choose to go there. I would rather go to some other activities, like some other parks or shopping complex and things like that. Okay, so admission charge, this also just came in my mind. Now, less number of traditional activities and admission charge. So these are the two prominent reasons, right? So let's write R. We'll go slow so we understand completely. Are the two prominent reasons for this sudden decline, right? For the sudden decline in admission figures. So obviously of local people, right? Now, however, semicolon, however, before semicolon, we need to have a complete sentence, right? So, however, contradiction, however, by reconsidering. So obviously, whatever, like whatever reason is going to be your solution has to match the same thing. So, however, by reconsidering the reasons appropriately would surely sow the seeds, right? So the seeds to resurrect the interest of local community to visiting these places. Okay, I hope this one is clear. Let's understand again. There is no gainsaying the fact that in terms of local people's attendance, museums and other historical places have always paled in comparison with other recreational centers. Now the outline sentence, now this is our BP1. Less number of traditional activities and admission charge are the two prominent reasons for this sudden decline in admission figures. Right now, this is my body paragraph 1. In the body paragraph 1, I'll be mentioning these as my reasons. Remember, I'm not going to mix up one reason, one solution, then in next BP another reason, next solution. No, it will lower your band score. Always make one paragraph of reasons and another paragraph of solutions. However, keep the coherence properly, right? I will show you. However, by reconsidering the reasons appropriately, so I'm going to talk about something, reconsidering these two things, right? Would surely sow the seeds. It means कि बीज बो देंगे किस चीज का, to resurrect the interest of local community visitings, right? To visiting these places. Okay, I hope introduction is clear, right? Okay, now let's start with the body paragraph 2. Sorry, right? All right, now let's start with the body paragraph 1. In this, I'm going to talk about the two reasons that we have discussed in the introduction. Okay, now let's begin first of all with the linker. So, to initiate, comma, to initiate. Now we are talking about the reasons, right? So let's write it active. To initiate the small and dwindling, right? So decreasing the small and dwindling number of local visitors to museums can firstly be attributable to the low frequency. Now we mentioned about the point, less activities, cultural activities, to the low frequency with which activities are held, right? Can firstly be attributable to, it means be caused by, right? So इसका कारण हो सकता है. To initiate the small and dwindling number of local visitors to museums can firstly be attributable to the low frequency with which activities are held. जिस चीज लो फ्रीक्वेंसी जिसके कारण जिसकी चीज के, ठीक है, किस चीज के कारण हो रहा है, बेसिकली जो एक्टिविटीज है वो बहुत ही कम हो रही है, ठीक है. सो दिस इज आवर फर्स्ट रीजन. So now don't just put down full stop, and this is not, like for as a reader you're not able to understand this what I mean, so I have to further explain it in order to do the development of my idea. That is how you gain your band score. So let's develop it. In other words, so हमने इसके अंदर क्या देखना है, अब लोकल विजिटर्स कैन फर्स्टली बी एट्रिब्यूटेबल टू द लो फ्रीक्वेंसी विच एक्टिविटीज आर हेल्ड। अब एक्टिविटीज क्यों होती हैं, क्योंकि ऑब्वियसली बिल्डिंग्स की जो रिन्यूअल्स हैं, ठीक है, वो इतनी नहीं हो रही है। अब रिन्यूअल्स क्यों नहीं हो रही है, क्योंकि ऑब्वियसली वहां पे कोई एक्टिविटीज ही नहीं होती है, राइट। सो इसलिए म्यूजियम्स में कोई इतना इंसान इंटरेस्ट भी नहीं लेता है। ओके, सो इन अदर वर्ड्स, the renewals of existing exhibits, the renewals of existing exhibits or the organization of new programs or of the new programs and events are few, let's say are few and far between. Far between, few and far between, कम होती है या बहुत गैप होता है उसमें, right? So in other words, the renewals of existing exhibits or the organization, जितने जो existing exhibitions हैं और किसी organization के अंदर जो new programs और events होते हैं, वो बहुत ही कम होते हैं, या अगर होते हैं तो उनमें बहुत लंबा गैप होता है। ठीक है, ये हमने डेवलप कर दिया जिस तरीके से, जिस कम, राइट, जिस कम रेशियो में एक्टिविटीज होती हैं, द वे द एक्टिविटीज आर हेल्ड इन लेस नंबर, right? So what we are saying here, the low frequency in which activities are held, which means the renewals of existing exhibitions. Now whatever the exhibitions that are existing, right, those and the organization of new, the way new programs and events are organized are very less or very frequent, or there is a long gap in between them, right? So which means we are showing the low frequency with which activities are held. Okay, so what happens for this reason? For this reason, little interest is aroused. खड़ा होना, little interest is aroused, किसमें? In those who had once, जो पहले कभी गए थे, who had once been to the museum, right, or places of historical significance. Right. Now, after this, let's write one more point. Okay. Furthermore, we have spoken about, admission charge. So let's write about them. Furthermore, these things are very necessary in your task too. Okay. These are connecting devices, comes under lexical resources. Do remember. Furthermore, museums and historical places. Now, what do? They charge people, right? Historical places do not, obviously we're not can't use does, because we're talking about two things. Do not come cheap. In fact, right? In fact, to get admission, to these places, visitors are often required to pay. Now we did this vocabulary to pay a substantial amount of money which can be which can be uh, which can be worth a day's salary for some, let's say, individuals, right? So furthermore, museums and historical places or sites, you can also write, right? Do not come cheap. They don't come cheap. Okay. In fact, to get admission to these places, visitors are often required to pay a substantial amount of money, which can be worth a day's salary for some individuals. Okay. So this was our reasons paragraph. All right, now we are going to write our solutions paragraph. In solutions paragraph, we'll be mentioning about the same points that what we have covered in reason, so that our linking is there. And trust me, if you write this kind of essay, nobody can stop you from even getting more than 7+ band scores. As long as your grammar is coming good, you know where your appropriate commas are coming, your punctuations, your complex sentences, you know, they carry very good band scores, right? All right. So now let's start with the solutions paragraph. With this, we also need to use a linker. So let's begin. Now, remember there was this one phrase we did drum up, right? To generate the interest. So let's begin. In order to drum up, now we need to generate the interest. So in order to drum up more interest, in order to drum up more interest of local people, what we need to do in order to drum up more interest of local people in coming to museums, a number of ways can be, with can be, so past participle, employed. So we just made a plural sentence. Now with the help of this, it is easy for us to write our sequence. Now let's write. Number of ways can be employed. First and foremost method, well, first and foremost method is to organize activities which incorporate, right, include, so which on in which incorporate art performances with appropriate content, right? Art performances with appropriate content. It's just like, unlike, I'm just saying, you know, like there shouldn't be any kind of like, you know, Western dance or anything like that, like item songs and all. Okay, not like that. So organize activities which incorporate art performances, right? Now, first and foremost method is to organize activities which incorporate art performances with appropriate content. Now, what kind of, let's say, for example, heritage fair with cultural activities. Heritage fair with cultural activities would, because we are advising, so we use would modal verb, would attract many people, would attract many people, right? This would not only encourage, should not only encourage the attendance, this will not only encourage the attendance of local inhabitants, but also be a great opportunity, or will be a great opportunity to educate them about the, now opportunity educate about the, obviously the history, right? The history, so history of their places of origin, about the history of their places of origin, correct? So in order to drum up more interest of local people in coming to museums, a number of ways can be employed. First and foremost method is to organize activities which incorporate art performances with appropriate content. For example, what kind of, for example, heritage fair with cultural activities would attract many people. This would not only encourage the attendance of local inhabitants, but also be a great opportunity to educate them about the history of their places of origin, right? Now the next point we have left with are uh, attendance, sorry, admission charge. Okay, let's go with that. Now in, let's use another linker. So in addition, the authorities, right? The authorities can also lower. Now I wouldn't say to make it absolutely free of cost, right? They should lower the, there should be some kind of discount for local people. I mean, showing their identity card, having the address on it, something that would, they should get some kind of discounts, right? Because they are the one who can go regularly, not tourists, right? So in addition, the authorities can also lower the admission fee or offer discounts, right? Offer discounts to local people. Okay, this is the another advice that we have given, right? So as you can see, two reasons we discussed in our body paragraph 1, and for the same we wrote two solutions. So there is an appropriate link in between the both the paragraphs. This is how you generate your band score, a higher band score. Okay, now let's start with a conclusion. Last paragraph, its conclusion means only restating to what you have discussed in body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2. Now let's write. So to conclude, many reasons can be given as to why, let's say local, as to why local people lose their interest, they're getting again and again. So enthusiasm, let's write, lose their enthusiasm for museums and places of historical sites, right? Places of historical sites. However, or nevertheless, you can also use that. However, the revival of these places is, so the revival of, now दोबारा से इसको करना, the revival of these places is within our grasp, हमारी अपनी पकड़ में है, within our grasp, should, if, ठीक है, if की बजाय should proper actions are taken. Okay, now to be, like this expression places is within our grasp. Okay, this means can be done, revival of these places can be done. So now this should, I'm again telling you, this is a grammatical structure that I do with my students. Okay, I have many grammatical structures that I have discussed with them. Out of those, this one is very famous, right? Should. Now we can write should is also a modal verb, right? As we know, for suggestion, recommendation, but we can use it instead of if as well, but not everywhere few sentences, right? So that video I have covered with my students. Okay, now those are my premium videos, right? I hope this topic is clear to you. Okay, now same thing again, let's reset the topic. Many museums, historical places, only tourists goes, not any local people. Why? So we spoke two reasons. One is definitely that the less frequency of cultural activities that are held over there, right? For that reason people are losing interest. And second reason was admission charge, because the localites are also paying the same fare as what tourists are paying. Now in terms of solutions, the very first one we gave, that like in order to generate, to drum up the interest among localites, the activities need to be take place more and more often, right, with appropriate content. So we gave an example, heritage fair, right? So that would regenerate the interest among local people. Secondly, we mentioned that there should be a lower fees or discounts for the localites, right? So that they don't hesitate or they don't turn to other recreational activities. Okay, I hope you like the essay. Thank you so much.